what is this self and the real self, and what is Ishvara, what we say about the God, or the supreme consciousness. You can put the story of a Ramakrishna, a parable. The frog lays eggs in the water. And when the shell of the egg is broken, the first birth of a frog is like a tadpole. Tadpole is almost like a fish, which has a long tail. Long tail. Now, as the baby frog grows up, what happens? That tail starts disappearing. And the moment that baby frog removes the tail, or because of the growth, the tail disappears completely, the frog jumps onto the land. So Ramakrishna used to say that this world is like an ocean where you are born, where you grow, where you mature, where you experience old age, and then gone. But you don't find how to transcend this entire world. And the tail of a tadpole is like an ignorance. So as the ignorance goes on disappearing, there is a world of reality. And that world of reality is the earth. The frog jumps onto the earth. He is awakened, or the person gets awakened when you transcend the world. Now what happens? Next stage. Now that frog has an option to remain on the earth. That means remain absorbed into the pure meditative state. And whenever baby frog finds that, yes, I need food, I need to meet my dad or mom, he jumps into the ocean. He meets there. But he meets with that awareness of the reality. He is already awakened. Knowledge, once realized, cannot be reversed. Once I learn swimming, even if I don't swim for years, I can swim. I don't drive. I have a driving license, but I can drive even after years together. Knowledge is once realized, cannot be reversed. So Ramakrishna used to say that is what we need to do. That is the entire journey of meditation. It does not mean that I have to reject the world in which I am living. I have not to reject whether it's a family life, professional life, social life. But my perception has changed. Now I live that life consciously, free from doubt, with full clarity, free from attachment, free from duality, free from conflict. That is the journey of meditation. That is what Patanjali explains in first chapter. Understand this world clearly. Find out the moments and the events of attachment, duality, six enemies, and start working on your mind until you transcend the mind and absorb into a meditative state. the highest meditative state. I think we covered, there are more or less 28, 29 different stages of meditation. So he's talking once, Ramakrishna is talking, once you reach to the highest state of meditation, awakened. And once you awaken, you land on the earth, the ground of awakening. And once you there, then you can jump easily. So after awakening, you live in the world, suffering doesn't touch you. That is what Patanjali says. Huh? That by the practice of meditation in the second chapter, he says, Samadhi, Bhavanarth, Klesh, Karunarthascha. By the regular practice of meditation, we not only minimize the suffering that we experience in the world, but we also awaken ourselves. It is another point that we should add here in this book that first I have to listen and learn the principles of Eastern wisdom. It is known as Shravanam. You see that if I ask you where your house is located, so you tell me the number, the street, and the town, and then the county, and then the state, and ultimately the zip code. I understand it instantly. And I said, okay, I will reach your house. That is what the listening should do. Listening and learning from the teacher should do. I used to have, I won't say heated debate. I used to ask the question that why this happens. When you tell me that go to that seeker's house and go to the forest, I know what it means. My head, my mind, my intellect knows, and I go there and I do the work, I come back. But when you say there is a real self in you, why don't I realize it? You see, it's a natural question. That is why I posted that photograph. I remember, or that was the question I was asking sitting in the middle. And he was pointing out and he was answering that. He said it's a beautiful question, it's a big question. So I want to put that content again in this. So understand that. Why I can easily understand and know your house, your location, and I have no doubt. First thing that I have no doubt, and second thing that I don't have an opposing tendencies. What are those opposing tendencies? Oh, you are talking of Arizona. Scottsdale is in Arizona, and this is your number. No, I don't have any issue in the mind. I can reach there. But what happens, Master? I asked him, what happens to this same mind when you say the real self in you, but I don't get it? I understand what you are saying is right, it is truthful, but I don't get it. I don't see that. So, because if I see that, I can by driving to your home, but I don't see that. So the master says it is because of doubt in the mind and opposing tendencies. What are those opposing tendencies? That I am the body. You are saying that body is not my real nature. They overpower my mind. I am the breath, I am the mind. That I thought is me who claims I don't know because of opposing tendencies and freedom of doubt, freedom from the doubt. So the master says, You have to go to the second step of mananam. What is mananam? Mananam is contemplation and reflection. I've been talking a lot, but I'm talking about this in a different perspective. Manan has two elements: contemplation and reflection. What is contemplation? You ask questions after learning the questions, after learning the principle. So, what people normally do? You talk about meditation. So, where is the meditation? You are talking of the last step. First, learn the principles, how to treat the path. So, after learning the principles, the contemplation means you are asking what? You are asking, you are asking big questions pertaining to the principle. Now, what people do? I'm going a little slowly so that the things becomes clear to you, and that is the purpose. And at the same time, you can add into the book. Now, see that uh, in kindergarten, first class, the teacher draws the shape of a A. What is this? A. A for apple. And if the kid asks, and then he says B, this is the shape, banana. Now the kid asks, can I replace B for A and A for B? That is what we do in learning and listening meditation. We want the highest. No, no, you tell me everything. The way I can locate your house, the same way I can reach to that state, which is not possible. If it is possible, you have already realized it. Don't have any question. But if you don't realize, you have questions, you have doubt, you have to follow the principle first. Don't challenge the principle. Don't challenge A, why the A is written like A, why the B is written like B. We normally do this. Why we do this? Because of opposing tendencies. Now understand that. Why we do that? We do it because mind is obsessed, habituated, conditioned to for millions of years. What is that conditioning? That mind seeks the real self in front of me, which is not possible. I cannot see through my sense organs. I cannot find it through the mind. I have to transcend the mind. And we enter into the unnecessary debate and the confusion, and the opposing tendencies continues. You have seen a lot of people, they say, show me where is the real self. If you cannot show me, I don't believe it. Don't believe it. So what you are doing, it is like you are in a physics class and you are asking the teacher to teach me about the cell. Teach me about mitochondria, the part of the cell, which is not possible. So my reasoning and logic should be consistent with the principles. That much we are saying. If you are studying physics, then continue, be consistent with the principles of physics. If you are studying biology and you say, can you teach me Einstein theory of relativity and how the cell interacts with reference to Einstein theory of relativity? It will not work. We don't understand that. That is what we understand in the second step of mananam, contemplation and reflection. Another challenge comes when we say that logic and the reason can help me to be consistent with the principles, and still this intellect is a two-way sword, or you can say reasoning and the logic is like a prostitute. If I have more information, I can defeat you even if you have the right information. You are 100% clear about where is your house, and still I can disapprove. So, Master says, be consistent with a framework of Eastern wisdom to reach and succeed in meditation the way a physicist always is consistent with the principles of physics. So there is no problem of belief, or there is nothing like, you need not to believe it. You just follow those principles, ask questions pertaining to the principles. That the one question that came to my mind at the time when I was talking to my master. So once we understand that with the clarity, my mind goes back. What it says? Just one example before we go to these sutras. I'm laying a foundation. Take one example. We say that real self, that pure consciousness transcends the world. Means it transcends the space, time, and object. What it means, how do I understand that? Space. Space is infinite. Can the space limit itself? The answer is no. The space cannot limit itself. So you are saying transcending the space, transcending the world means transcending the space, but the space has no limitation. So is the real self is like the space? No, through the metaphor we can say it is infinite consciousness, all pervading consciousness, but it is beyond the space. But how do I understand it is beyond the space? Do you experience space in deep sleep? No, I don't experience the space in deep sleep. So deep sleep is a particular time in my life that limits the space. The first thing we have understood. Limits the space. So it means it transcends the space. What about the time? We are very well aware that time is fragmented into past, present, and the future. We are talking of the time where the real self was not possible. The real self was, is, will always be there. So we experience the state of timelessness in time, outside, timelessness inside. So we have transcended space and the time. Now come about the object. I am. You are Casey. So I am not Casey. You are not me. The object limitation. So that real self transcends these limitations of an object also. As long as there is an objective reality present in the mind, we cannot transcend the mind, and ultimately we cannot find the real self. Based on that understanding, that real self transcends the object, time, the space. It is the state of pure consciousness. What is pure consciousness? We say it is timeless, it is thoughtless, it is also mindless, means objectless state of the mind. So, how Patanjali explains what is that real self? So, we come to the Sutra 24. क्लेश कर्म विपाकाशयो अपरामृष्ट Purus Vishesh Ishwar. So first word he uses Ishwar. There are many synonyms for the Ishwar. Ishwar means God also, but with a particular reference. Who is that Ishwar? You can be an Ishwar and I can be an Ishwar, provided I fulfill these conditions. So he indicates what is that pure consciousness, what is that real self. So he says, Ishwar is a supreme being that is untouched by the kleshas. So when I have transcended the world, time, space, and the object, definitely I'm untouched by the kleshas. What are kleshas? First is I'm untouched by the klesha. I'm untouched by the karma. I'm untouched by the fruits of that karma. So I bypass the law of karma. That is one way to understand. So Patanjali is saying Ishwar is a supreme being, or we can say a special Purusha, or we can say that once we reach to the highest state of meditation, we touch within ourselves that supreme being, the non dual consciousness. Provided condition are there. We are understanding through the concept, and the concept is a product of knowledge. Mind in the intellect understands any knowledge through the concept. What is concept? Girish, my name, is a concept. Husband is a concept. Wife is a concept. Child is a concept. House is a concept. Address is a concept. We always understand anything through the mind with a particular concept. So here is a concept. So that concept is explained as conditions. What is that condition? First, he says it is untouched by klesha. And that is what I explained in the first para of the first sutra in a different way. Ishwar is defined by four factors. What are the four factors? He says it is untouched by, free from all the five klesha. What are the five klesha? If you remember, avidya, asmita, raga, dvesh, abhinivesh, pancha klesha. Five afflictions: lack of awareness of reality, that gives rise to I thought or egoism. Egoism gives rise to attraction and repulsion, and attraction and repulsion gives rise to craving to live without knowing why I'm living. I'm living day after day, weeks after weeks. I'm sleeping every day, dreaming every day, waking every day. I have some anxiety almost every day, some pleasure every day, and that I have been repeating days after days, weeks after weeks, months after months. And it has become a normal for me. That is what I call a life. Patanjali says that is not life. So the five kleshas. So I'm free from the five klesha. And I'm also free from the karma. What it means? Does it mean that I have stopped doing the karma? No, I'm doing the karma, maybe much more than what I was doing before you awaken to that state of meditation. But that karma is a play and a fun. It does not contain an element of motive for the fruits of an action. Why? Because every action is always in the present. So you ask the mind why you are thinking of the fruits of an action that is in the future. Focus on the karma. So I become free from the karma. First step. Second step of free from the karma is to get rid of that ego that I am doing it, that I thought should go away. Then what happens? Karma becomes play and a fun. I don't have an ego going to the restroom, but I have an ego that I'm doing meditation, the greatest barrier. So, who is that Ishwar? What is that state of realization who is free from five klesha, and also the karma, and the spatial being free from the limitations and untouched by the fruits of actions? Free from limitation, I have already explained. No limitation in the space, time, and object, and untouched by the fruits of an action. Whatever comes, that is the nature of the world. The very nature of the world that is perceived by the mind based on performing a particular karma. I perform any karma. It has pairs of opposites as result. Profit or loss, one pair. Pain and the sorrow, pain and the happiness, pain and the pleasure, victory and defeat. These pairs of opposite will remain there. The way the mind perceives the world, these pairs of opposites are always there. So I say, okay, let me perform my karma, do my best. Karma is a play and a fun, and live my life. It is like the water in an ocean. Nothing happens to waves, whether you have small waves, big waves, or a storm or a tsunami. Katrina, nothing happens to the water. The essential nature of the water does not change. So, our essential nature does not change while living, working in this world. That is why I have put it Samadhi Bhavanarth Klesh Tanu Karnarthascha means what? By the regular practice of meditation, we enter into a deeper state, and also it brings in hand or minimizes the suffering. Another point, the fourth factor, needs to be understood, that the first I have explained the kleshas, that supreme reality that is present within me. By the practice of meditation, I reach there. So when I reach there, I see that I'm totally free from all the five afflictions, five kleshas. I'm free from the law of karma. Now I transcend the law of karma. But still, in that state, the fourth factor, the vasanas, the past impressions, are always present. So Patanjali says you are also free from that past impressions. So once that means that real self, that pure consciousness, that Ishvara is free from five kleshas or afflictions, is free from karma, free from fruits of the action, and free from the past impressions known as vasanas. I have already explained. I write something on the front of the paper and I see the impression on the back. That is what happens to the mind. Whether I think, whether I have a pleasure, experience the pleasure, one impression of anxiety, another pressure. I reacted, another impression. We don't realize that these impression accumulates, gives me birth and the death cycle. They are known as vasanas. Why my mind has the thoughts that I don't want? It is because of the vasanas. Can I know the vasana directly? No. I can only know the impact of the vasanas. Why I reacted today on the same event and why I responded to the same event tomorrow? Because of the vasanas, because of the past impressions that triggers, the mind creates an impact. So we are free from those vasanas also. So anyone I'm talking of human being. Anyone who is beyond all these four factors is known as Ishwar, is known as Ishwar. Ishwar, synonym is God. Normally, no master says this, that I'm the God, but when he lives it, he is aware that he has realized what Patanjali says. What Patanjali says. That is the, that is the, now in the Sutra 25, he explains little at a subtler level. Because that supreme being, which is known as Ishvara, free from five causes of suffering, according to Patanjali, free from the karma, because he is just every karma is play and fun. Even his anger is play and fun. Fruits of the actions, he is free from there and he is free from the vasana. So this sutra is connected to the previous one. Tatra nirati shayam sarvagnya bijam. Yoga Sutra 25. That Ishwar is omniscient, all knowing, and is the source of all knowledge. Now, there is no limitation of space, time, and object. So he can instantly become, he is aware of it. So, who is omniscient and who is the source of all knowledge? He is, he knows what it means by pure consciousness. He knows what it means by real self. He knows what it means by Sat Chit Anand. Simply talking of Satchidanand doesn't work. We have to continue the journey. We have to treat the path. So what he says, Tatra nirati shayam sarvagnya bijam. Tatra, in that state, when you have reached to that state, what do you find? You experience that omniscience, all knowing is this, and the source of, what do you find? Well, who is the source of all the knowledge? Not our mind, intellect, ego, body, breath, our information. That real self is the source of all knowing. There are a lot of things, but we should restrict ourselves. Satchidananda. That brings a knowledge of the experience. Knowledge happens in two steps. Knowledge is not realized in knowledge instantly. Knowledge is realized in stages. That we should understand. Seed doesn't become a tree overnight. And I have understood. Okay, I have understood your address. I have really understood your address, but I will feel it, experience it when I reach there. Two main stages. Two main stages. Even though now there is no doubt, no opposing tendencies, then I can definitely reach there. So once I reach there, I live into that. So our Vyasa, the master, says it is what it is. It is Sat Chit Anand. Then what he perceives, now he has such a deep penetration into the entire universe and the cosmos that he is aware that the same real self, same Purusha, same supreme being, which is a common element in everything, whatever he perceives that real self inside. Outside, he may talk with the name and the form and the topic. That's totally different. That is what he means by all knowing. It does not mean that he knows what the Trump will do, whether the Trump will win the race or not. It has nothing to do with it. So sometimes we misconfuse. Oh, becomes all knowing. So you have reached to that state. So, what will happen to the Trump in the coming election? That is not our subject matter. We are not studying politics. So, we should be very clear about it. Some people start arguing. So, inconsistent reasoning does not work in the path of the Eastern wisdom. Now, a magic. Patanjali gives a magic in this sutra. When that real self is the source of all the knowledge, then I don't need any knowledge from outside for my awakening. It means the seed of the knowledge of the self is the cause of my awakening. That is also known as a grace and the blessing. Where is the knowledge? It is beyond the mind. Where is the knowledge? The real self is of the nature of knowledge and consciousness. That is why we say Sat Cheta Anand. Be very clear. Don't create any doubt about the Sat Cheta Anand. When we say existence means Sat, it also means I have included the other two words, Chit and Anand. When I say only pure consciousness, I have also included existence and Ananda. When I say simply Ananda, I have included the previous two words, Sat and Chit. Why? Same thing. Knowledge understood by the intellect is a concept. In order to explain through the concept, I need the words, the language. So, in explaining that pure consciousness in language, I say Sat, Chit, Anand. They are not separate, they are essentially one. That one is the source of all knowing. Because the intellect divides and perceives, that's how it understands. So, for the sake of understanding the intellect, which cannot be realized by the intellect, cannot be experienced by the mind, so we use the help of a concept. Whether you say Ishwar, done. Whether you say Purusha, done. Whether you say Satchidanand, done. But never forget, never put inconsistent logic. So Sat is here, Chit is there, Ananda is somewhere else. No, it is only one. Consciousness is knowledge, knowledge is consciousness. The knowledge is knowledge of the subjective reality. The subjective reality is our true nature, hidden behind the veil of mind, causes the knowledge to be limited. So when the mind creates a veil, my knowledge is limited. What causes the veil? I have heard the principle, but there is no clarity, so there is a doubt. There are opposing tendencies. In order to remove these two, we have to learn little more principles to continue treading the path. How the knowledge of the self is limited by the sense and the mind, I have already explained. In getting any knowledge, understand that knowledge of the things beyond the range of senses, existing either individually or collectively and caused by the appearance of the past and future forms, is qualified by the attributes of largeness, smallness on account of veil of darkness covering more or less of the essence of the will to be. I have just put as it is the expression of another great master and a commentator, Vachaspati Mishra. That simply I have explained in terms of the space, time, and object. I know you, yes. So, how the mind knows you? Through the color, through the form, through the speech, through the language, and what else? I know about you. I don't know you. The entire summary is this: I know about you, but I don't know you. Can I say tomorrow you'll be angry or agitated or always live in peace and happiness? The answer is no. So, who has concluded this knowledge? My mind and my sense organ. How these sense organs in the mind works as an instrument of knowledge. The sense organ works as an instrument of knowledge to see the material world with facts with reference to objects of five sense organs. Sorry. I see this mouse is black in color. How come? Is it really black in color? Or it is filtering the ultra and the infrared range of those colors? It means my perception of the mouse that is black in color is not true. This is a limitation of knowledge. One limitation. Same thing with the five sense organs and their object. Look at the limitations of the mind. Mind also poses that limitation. But when mind is also an instrument of knowledge, we have already discussed the intellect, even though it puts logic in the reasoning, that reasoning is limited. So that is limited. So what he says, the masses in the Sutra number 25, he says, understand this real self, the supreme being, which is already present within us, is the source of all knowledge. So I get knowledge from there. What people say awakening. How I can claim that I'm awakening? I'm awakened. The intellect and the mind cannot declare I am awakening. Go further. We are understanding what is real self, what is the nature, and what are the different attributes of the real self. Now we come to the Sutra number 26. The existence is beyond time and the teacher of all the masters. So we have already understand it is beyond time. How come we understand it is beyond time? In deep sleep, there is no time and space. But when I wake up, the time and space again comes, an object comes again. It means there is something within me, behind the mind. Even when the mind sleeps, I exist. So I'm already behind. I know that I have understood intellectually through the logic that existence is beyond time and also the teacher of all the masters. That is the most beautiful statement. We say the buck stops here, so the entire journey stops here. So aish purve sham api guruhu kali nam avchedda. Such a beautiful statement. I explain this sutra in a different way. I used to ask my master, I have been prostrating before you physically, touching your feet. Can that help me if I do it regularly? And he laughed and he said, nothing will happen. And what has to happen has already happened. I said, I did not understand. What do you mean by this? So he said, it is the beginning. Your mind has a faith, a belief. You have crossed A for apple. Now you have understood the language of the Eastern wisdom. And after a few years, he said, you need not do it. Second stage, then with the before the prostration, I used to offer a gift. Sometime a bouquet of rose flowers, sometime some other gift. So the time came, I did not recognize the change inside. So one day I offered him a bouquet of rose flower, then I prostrated. And he said, listen, from today, no more rose flower. And I took it casually. I said, okay, he's okay. He always says he's a great master. He doesn't want me to spend the money. You see that? My mind, how my mind is working in ignorance. I brought the rose bouquet again. I told you not to bring it, and he threw it. I told you not to bring it. You didn't listen to the teacher. He shouted. So I had the tears in my eyes, and then I did not even then understand. Then, after a few days, he was sitting alone. He called me. You see that? What is this master and a disciple tradition? That you pay respect and adore and prostrate before me. I prostrate and adore before my master. His master is doing the same thing. Now find out who is the ultimate master. I said, no, I cannot find out. He said, the ultimate master is the pure consciousness, the supreme being in your heart. Because you cannot approach the path directly into your own heart. That is why we need some equipments, we need some instrument. So the real master checks your whether the ego is creating a veil, whether the opposing tendencies is creating a veil, whether the idea, the motivation of fruits of an action is creating a veil in you. So that human master works, points you how to work on it. Now you have reached to your own real self. You had a glimpse of it. Now you know what needs to be done. You know by yourself. You are your own teacher and you are your own seeker. So that is why Patanjali and every master says what he says. Ishwar is each and every one and is even the teacher of ancient great masters. He is unaffected or not limited by time. Means what? That pure consciousness in me, in you, in everyone is common element. It is the source of all knowledge. That is why that consciousness is the teacher of all the masters. What a beautiful statement that we need not to go anywhere outside. We have to find it within ourselves. That is the message. That is what the Vyasa, the commentator, explains. That self is not limited by the time means what? That guru is not a body, the mind, the intellect, and the ego. Because body, mind, intellect, and the ego will be subjected by the time, subjected by the space, subjected by the birth and the death. But that pure consciousness is not conditioned by the time. Whenever time does not exist, In highest meditation, that is Ishvara, Supreme Self, Spatial Purusa, the teacher of the ancient masters too, as the knowledge of his supreme power is existing in the beginning of the creation is obtained. That is the beauty of it. I've explained differently that how we understand in a different pointers, so you can look at it. Yes, we can pick up one thing. You see that? I know you. Who says this? I know you is a thought. You say me that I know you. It is also a thought. Where are you? We are attending a virtual session. It is it is also I. So is this I the real I? No. This is the I thought. I'm upset. It is I thought. I'm female. This is I thought. So there are two things. One is I thought, other is thoughtless I. Don't say anything. Don't say I am, and still I exist in the field of awareness. I know I am in the field of awareness. I need not to. The moment I express, I enter into the mind. So it means I thought is not the real I. It is the thoughtless I which is the real I. I just put it early in the morning. So, what is that supreme being which is also known as Brahman, Ishwar? So, when I say I am the real self, that I am is not a thought I. That thoughtless I is the real self and the supreme being. That is why the master escapes saying that I know myself. That real I transcends the word, the thought I, and the word that is perceived. That is why he is the master of all the masters. What a beautiful journey. When master told me, I always used to see that. My master, then his master, then his master, and ultimately the greatest master lies deeper within as a thoughtless I. That is another way to meditate. That is the beauty of this journey, and especially by the Patanjali. So I have explained in pointers, so you can convert that, and then I will see to that. Now we will go to understand this sutra based on the Gita. So in the Gita, chapter 4, in the verse number 1, the Krishna, the originator of yoga, says, the imperishable yoga I gave to Vivaswan. He is known by the name Sun God, or you can say another master. Vivaswan gave this knowledge to Manu, their another master. Manu gave this knowledge to Ichwaku, another master. Very clear through the intellect. Vivaswan, Manu, Ichwaku are different names of the masters who carried forward the tradition of yoga. So when we understand, when we start teaching to the serious students, otherwise let them say, I had a very good interaction with one New York mindfulness teacher. I followed the tradition of Buddhism from Sri Lanka master. He said, what exactly it means by following a tradition? No, I stick to his teaching. I said, so then there is a bondage. When you stick to a teaching, that teaching should help you not only understand intellectually, but help you reach to the all one common element. So, do you differentiate between mindfulness and meditation? He said, yes, there is a big difference. I said, explain to me. I'm your student. We talked for about an hour, and he explained me. I said, what exactly is the common element? So I said, when you follow the tradition, tradition has to be followed, but tradition should not condition you, limit you. Are you conditioned or limited? Yes. I said, can you say that you have a freedom, or do you teach about the freedom? The answer is no. So, going to the sutra, the verse number 4.2 in the Gita, he says, Yoga was passed on to great royal sages, till it was lost in lapse of time. Krishna says, it was lost in lapse of time. It was already there deep inside. Do you see that? That is the beauty. Then in 4.3, Krishna says to his friend seeker in the Gita that he is revealing the secret of yoga to him is the highest secret. That is why Gita is known as the master text of yoga. Now you see, that is why Bhagavad Gita is important. I know you had those questions, so I said, let me put these. Let me put this references. So Krishna in the Gita taught all the secrets of yoga in the 18 chapters. Later on, Patanjali and a lot of other masters. I'm not writing, and I'm not going in detail. So that is how the tradition of the same yoga is passed on to Patanjali. That is why he says what he says, that Ishwar, that pure consciousness, that real self is the master of all the masters. And where is located? For the sake of understanding, it is located in the heart. That is the seat of our consciousness. We are understanding what exactly is this real self. How many words explains that real self? We are understanding that part. You see that if the teacher does not explain in variety of ways the same principle, then the opposing tendencies continue to haunt us. And if the seeker is listening carefully, followed by contemplation and reflection, then he becomes a seeker. So we have another sutra, Yoga Sutra 27, first chapter. Tasya vachakah pranavaha. Simple. Where is Casey? Casey is the name pointing to an individual. But Casey is the word is not an individual. We should understand it clearly. The moment that word becomes individual, personal, conditioned, then it becomes a part of a religion. Amen. Om. Like Christian, we say cross, swastika, etc., etc. No. So the Patanjali clarifies. Did you understand? No, you did not understand. So he says Om is a symbol for that Ishvara. Symbol. Symbol is not Ishvara. Our true nature or the Supreme Self is denominated by the sound and the word Om. And that is what is also referred to as Pranava. Pranava means Om. Tasya vachakah Pranavaha. Sun is the name that represents heat and light, the same way Om represents our true nature. The word sun is not heat and light. We should understand, be very clear. As sun is a word, inherently means heat and sun. So Om is a word inherently means my real nature, Satchidananda. Do you want to stay outside when the temperature is 110 degree Fahrenheit? Answer is no. I inherently understand the meaning of the sun with 100-degree Fahrenheit, heat and the light. No, it is not possible. It is not good. Do I understand the same way a word Om? No. No, Om is a very powerful mantra. Come on, the mind still has an opposing tendencies. If I repeat Casey will not manifest here in my house. You see, Om is a symbol inherently means Satchidananda, the real self. So, how to help, how to request Keshi should be here at my home? I should call. I should know before calling. So, I should know Om before I chant the word Om. Same way, go parallel. Two tracks of a train. So, I should call. No, he's not. She is not available on the phone. Okay, let me call it again. Let me send an email. So when I chant the mantra, inside my mind, I need to contemplate and reflect what it means. Are you getting it? With every mantra. So I'm making the mantra powerful because I'm becoming powerful inside. I'm making the mind powerful. That is how the Patanjali says, Tasya vachakah pranavaha. Not simply, Namaste, Om Shanti. No, I should have that contemplation and reflection every time. When I say Casey, in my mind, I don't see the image of any other women. I see Casey only. See that? That is what Patanjali is saying. That is what Patanjali is saying. Understand that. So when we chant and recite the mantra, that Om is nothing to do with religion. I should not condition my mind. I should liberate my mind with chanting of the mantra Om. My master used to say very beautifully, have you understood the principle? Yes, I have understood the principle. From where, which book? The Gita. Are you sure? Yes. Burn this book. Not required. You already know everything. You have kept that book Gita in your bookshelf and you have never studied. You don't you don't want to study, you don't get the time. Even then you burn the book because you are not interested. That is the nature of the Om. Tasya vachakaha pranavaha. That I have to work on my mind through the symbol Om, or for that sake, for any mantra. I don't see that. I normally ask which mantra is most powerful. Can I meet Bill Gates? No. In the material world, I have to reach to a certain position where millions of people notice me, even if I don't have the money, and I'm doing some work that aligns with the Bill Gates, and then Bill Gates says, "Come on, meet me." I have to become powerful. I have to become powerful. Means I have to work on my mind through the symbol Om, through the contemplation and reflection while chanting the mantra Om. And that mantra is understood as the real self. There are two people doing regular practice every day. I think they have been doing for the last almost 3 months until today. They enjoy. They realize that power is within me. The mind is, they are working on the mind, and that Om slips into the entire spine. And it's a totally a different meditation that lasts for almost 80 to 90 minutes. They have reached. Practice on Om. So, what is that? Now, the Sutra number 28. Practice of Om leads to highest state of mindfulness. As Casey is only a name, you are not Casey. So, by referencing the word Casey, does not mean that real I. So, what happens? Same way you practice Om meditation. There are many tools and techniques of Om meditation. Once you practice that Om meditation, you reach to an objectless state of the mind, asampragyat samadhi. Oh, mind is objectless. Mm. In Tantra, or you can say in the Mantra Yoga, Sharon studied that chapter when she was in New Jersey. So there are, that is why the Tantra tradition explains there are 5 stages of japa, mantra meditation. First is Vaikhari. Vaikhari means spoken. Om, whether you say Om or you say it very long standing where the mind is absorbed, it's okay. Vaikhari. Madhyama is the second stage. Madhyama is the second stage of mantra meditation where your breath and the mantra, means prana and the mantra, go together. Madhyama, the middle. Third is most beautiful name. Third stage. Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti. So I'm explaining from lowest to the highest stage. So first stage is the Vaikhari. Second stage is the Madhyama. Third stage is known as Pashyanti. The word Pashyanti means to see. Now you are sitting in meditation. You're not speaking this word loudly, no whisper, but now you are saying it in your mind and you see that word Om. You see that. You see that. You feel that. Third stage. Fourth stage is para, apara, or para. Fourth stage is where you do it mentally. Fifth stage, where that Om happens automatically, naturally, deep inside you. So Om happens, pure consciousness, pure consciousness. Objectless state. The world merges, but still you have that sense, that awareness, that feeling, that realization. That real self can also be perceived, experienced as Om. So you look at the Patanjali cleverly, intelligently. First 3 sutras, he explains what is the real self, and then he comes to Om, And then he said, this is also one way to practice meditation from Om as your object. You go to Om less. You go beyond